Welcome back to the Graphically Hip channel. My name is Sarah, and today I would love to teach you about some really cool text effects. These are effects that I learned back in graphic design school 11 years ago, and just thought that they were super fun effects used in the right setting. They aren't always to be used, but you might have some cool ideas as to where you can place these kinds of ideas. So let's use, here is some text. Now that font is super lame in this setting, so I'm just going to pick a different font. And let's say I just want a handwritten font, and definitely not one of those. Let's go with a fun font like this one. That's still super lame, but that's okay. Whenever I'm using a font, I always just drag it off to the side so that I can remember the name of the font, because I'm not going to keep it in its font form for this video. So first I'm going to right click and I'm going to say create outlines. Then I'm going to color, actually I'm going to leave it black for now, but I am going to right click and not right click. I'm going to go to object, compound path make, which is also command 8 or control 8 on a PC. So I just want that to be all one path instead of a whole bunch of different letters. And now, because I know I'm designing this for use on a Roland cutter, I don't want any text overlapping like there is here. So I'm going to use my Pathfinder tool. And the reason that is because when it goes to cut, it's going to cut that tiny little shape out, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to weld that together. And because I made that a compound path, it changed the color to nothing. So I'm going to color it again. Then I'm going to I'm going to hold shift and drag that text up. At the same time, I'm holding Alt. So this is a Shift Alt drag, and you can see that when I press Alt, see, I've let go of Alt. When I press Alt, it adds that second arrow in, and that just means that it's making me a copy. So I'm letting go of the mouse and the buttons on the keyboard, and I'm just going to drag that in a little bit, and you'll see why in a second. And then I'm going to give that a funky color. So let's call it lime green in this case. That's pretty funky. Now I'm going to select both pieces of text, or in this case now they're shapes. And I'm going to say, I'm going to go Object, Blend, Make. That's pretty freaking cool. Now, in some cases, you may need to go in. That isn't what happens usually. That's what I wanted to happen, but usually what happens is if you go into blend options, you see something like this is what usually happens, which is actually still pretty neat, but I want that nice smooth effect. So I'm going to go back to blend options. And under specified steps, that's the one I always pick. Even like 25 is still pretty decent. You can play around with these if you want to, but they don't really make a whole lot of difference in this case. So you can see it has that nice blend. Now, because this now renders that lime green highlighter yellow text kind of hard to read, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click to select this top shape. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to get out of that clip group. I'm going to Command F to paste it on top. And I'm going to give that a different color. So maybe now it's blue, or maybe I want to make it black. Or maybe I leave it the yellow, but I just make it a darker yellow or something, just to make it a little more legible. Could also add a black outline to it. Kind of the possibilities are endless here. And another really cool thing that you can do is, I'm just going to cut that off for a minute. Go back into this top one, color it black, and then paste my yellow text on top, and that just gives it a really funky shadow. Now, if let's say that you wanted to cut this all out on your Roland printer, you're going to have to get a little bit creative, but there is a quick hack that will help you get partway there. And that is to select the whole thing, copy it, paste it in place, which is Command F. Then go Object, Blend, Expand. Okay, so that'll turn it into this. Then we're going to go to Pathfinder, Unite, and that will make that all one shape. Now, because I'm really picky and I don't want to have to weed weird things out, I'm going to grab my direct selection tool. I'm going to get rid of that little thing and that little animal. Let's see if there's any other weird ones in here. Nope, looks like that's probably it. There might be some other ones, but that's okay for now. So now this is all one shape. I'm going to hit Command 8 just to make sure that it's still all one shape. Then I'm going to select this yellow shape up here. And then I'm going to, so I shift selected that. So now they're both selected. Select your top shape to highlight it as the key object. Then, so in this menu, you have Align to Key Object, which is automatically selected when you do what I just did. But you do have other options that you can choose for aligning. In this case, we want to leave it to the key object. I'm just going to go top. I'm going to align to top. So now the object that I created down here is perfectly aligned to the top of that yellow object. I'm going to switch that to a stroke. Then I'm going to add my cut contour. I'm going to change it to 0.25. Now I have a cut line on there. So your next step is to add bleed to this, which isn't super easy, but I'll get you started. You're going to grab your pink shape, go Object, Path, Offset Path. Okay, so that's going to give you, and we want this to be 0.25 because that's standard when you're printing anything. That's going to give you an outline. We're going to color the outline black because most of what we have to cut is black. Now we're going to send that to the very back. Okay, so now we have all the black stuff taken care of. Then we're going to zoom right in. Oh, that's not cool. I would fix that. Although when you're cutting it at this size, it probably won't matter. But I would just make that a straight line. So now we don't have any bleed on the yellow parts. So what we're going to do is grab our pen tool, which is the P, and we're just going to start drawing a yellow shape. And this doesn't have to match the black shape. It just needs to be roughly 0.25 inches. So I'm just drawing random points here. And I always start inside the yellow area and go to the nearest point. And then you just keep doing that for all the letters, but then you want to color them yellow. And you want to bring your cut line to the front. So Now, when this goes to the cutter and your cut line follows this pink line, it has that yellow bleed just surrounding the letter, but still has the black where there's black, if that makes sense. So you just keep going with your pen tool. And you just make sure that you kind of cover all of the spots that are yellow. In this case, you don't really have much room to work down in this little area, so I would just do one of these. The cutter on these Roland machines is fairly accurate unless you have some wonky settings. So I don't know. I don't have any clients that are picky enough to really care about like a little sliver of yellow showing or a little sliver of black showing where it shouldn't be. So for me, this is going to work, at least on my printer, which is fairly new and fairly accurate. So again, you just keep going on and on like that, export as PDF, and print it off. And there you go.